You've been through hell, the pain is evident. Trust ain't easy, but love is patient. You've been searching for a love that's real and true. King, you found that in me. The scars that haven't healed, the wounds that still linger deep, the weight of trust that's been broken, the doubts that creep. But know that this love is different, it's worth the risk. Stand by your side through every struggle, every twist. You're the king and you're worthy of a love that's true. The safe space, the calm in every storm, the partner in truth, the forever form. Supporting you in every way, guiding you through the night, helping you find your strength, helping you fight. You're the rock, the shelter, the home, a love that's real, a love that's not alone. The good times and the bad, the highs and the lows, a partner, a best friend through every step you go, healing and growing. Side by side together, you're the king and this love will last forever. You're the king of my heart, my guiding light. In your eyes I see a love so bright. Through the darkness you lead the way. With you I know we'll face the day. You're the one that love makes me whole. In your arms is where I belong. With you, my king, our love will be strong. In your love I find my peaceful night. Your love is mine forever. In your longing for connection and love, I see the same desire reflected from above. Our hearts beating as one, soul to soul. In your eyes my heart finds its goal. You're the missing piece that makes me whole. With every breath I'll love you till the end. My king, my love, my everything. As we stand together hand in hand, our love becomes the master plan. We've weathered storms and overcome the pain. And in each other's eyes, we see a love that remains forever true, forever strong. Our bond will never break. In your arms, I found my forever place. As we stand together, hand in hand, our love becomes the master plan. We've weathered storms and overcome the pain. And in each other's eyes, we see a love that remains forever true, forever strong. Our bond will never break. In your arms, I found my forever place. With you, my Our love will shine on every face. We'll walk this journey side by side. Our love will be the guiding light that leads us through the darkest night to a brighter day. For love will be the love that we leave behind. A love that's real, a love that's true, a love that's real, a love that's true. Forever in our hearts, forever in our minds. The Christ energy is palpable, and loyalty is the vibe. Sound is taking shape, and the rhythm's getting funky.
Well, all right. Once again, putting it down for you and yours. This is another episode of The Lion's Den. The segment titled, The Conversation Continues. Talking about what's on your mind. And as you can see, as always, the seventh answer. Lady Karima continues to give us all types of original songs and music, crowned by loyalty. Indeed, loyalty brings forth royalty. And whether you like it or not, believe it or not, or you want to deal like Aretha Franklin, the seventh answer continues to give us all what we can feel. Can you dig it? Because from city to city and state to state without no follow-up, bloops or blunders christened by the Lord, the seventh answer brings the Lion's Den, working miracles and wonders, crowned by loyalty. My. And I am your host is also Dark Storm. And we want to thank you for allowing us to come into your mind, soul, and cipher on this day. All right. And we give an honor to the Lord in Christ, although I am struggling and going through it. Still, clean or dirty, what have you. I give honor to the Lord in Christ, from whom all positive thoughts flow. And you know that when you tune into the Lion's Den, you are tuning into the grand ultimate truthality social media experiment. Welcome. And of course, the formula, the 8 eyes now that make this machine work. We hit you with the intelligence, the integrity, influence, independence, inspiration, insight, information, and infallible facts. Frequently accurate, correct truths. And you know, when you roll with the lion and lioness, you're rolling with the pride, y'all. We roll in pride, the righteous pride. Because we'll always PRIDE, permanently ready and destroying evil, starting with our own. And of course, you know that we're one of the many factions of the anti-coon movement. And you know what a coon is. COON, a complete, obvious, obedient, yes, a boss nigga. We don't do that here. No samboing, no buck dancing, no big black buck, no bed wenching, no pickaninny. None of that is done here, ever. Why? Because we can't be bought, and more importantly, we can't be sold. And here in the Lion's Den, we also ask, aren't you tired of being lied to? Well, if you are, you're in the right place at the right time on the right frequency. Again, the grand ultimate social media experiment, the Lion's Den, which is also the home of Counterpoint, which is a fancy way of saying debate. Sometimes we may have our disagreements, and we will have our mental and spiritual joust, which is a good thing. It keeps everyone honest and it's done in love because it's each one, reach one, and teach one. All right? And here on the Lions Den, we come with the biblical formula, but we don't inundate you with hundreds of scriptures just to drive home a simple point. But still, we follow the two basic rudiments of the biblical formula, and that is Isaiah, the 41st chapter, verse 21 through 24, which tells us that at all times produce our cause and bring forth our strong evidence. All the facts, computations, and everything else which make up the core of studying to show ourselves approved. And then we also follow 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, verse 21, which tells us to be ready, willing, and able to prove all things and hold fast to that which is good, which is what we do. And of course, you're being hit with that Virgo energy. That's right. We're spiritual, critical, tactical, political, and we always strive to never be hypocritical. And of course, now please understand that when you come into the Lions Den, one primary house rule set forth by one of our other beautiful lionesses crowned in loyalty, Iron Manna. You must wipe your feet, mind your manners, conduct yourself in an orderly manner, and enjoy yourself, because at any given time, you get out of line and you do something that you shouldn't do here, whether it be if you come here and want to converse with us or in the chat section, well, the lioness will swoop down with the quickness, work you out like physical fitness, and get you up out of here with so many combinations, not even Jehovah will witness. And I'll stand back and go, because you were warned and you were told. See, we strive to be hospitable host, so we're not going to tolerate rude guests. And so now with all these formalities out of the way, the seventh answer has us lined up on runway 8. Again, runway 8. And you turn the 8 sideways, you get infinity, because we're always forever moving, baby. And as we take off and we gain altitude, tonight's in-flight conversation is going to be talking about the one and only. Because we're losing so many legends, man. So many goodbyes back to back to back. All right? To the one and only, H. Rap Brown. Cool and profound. All right? We're going to talk about his life, his legacy. All right? From one of the founders of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, to ultimately joining the Black Panther Party, and also aligning himself with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference headed by the one and only Martin Luther King Jr. The brother had a very profound life, and albeit he found Islam later on in life and was wrongfully imprisoned, became a political prisoner, he never stopped fighting for justice and for our people. And albeit we have differences in opinion on our true nationality still. As H. Rap Brown, oh man, he put it down, laid his life down, and like so many others, from Huey Newton, Medgar Evers, albeit he wasn't assassinated, his character ultimately was in around 1999, going to the year 2000, when he was wrongfully convicted of killing and shooting a sheriff's deputy in Atlanta. We're going to talk about all these things in the life and legacy of the one and only H. Rap Brown. Now, as you know, as you can see, we continue to see all types of things happening the world over. And this is why it is high time for we, the true Jews, the children of Israel, to wake up out of sleep. See, oh yeah, on that note, for all you intelligentsia agencies listening to us right now, for all y'all up here blocking, our algorithm here on the YouTube set and whatever else, listen, it don't matter how much you try to suppress the truth. The truth, the most high divine truth, is never gonna be stifled. And in the name of the one true God, his name being Yahweh, he wants I and the seventh answer to let you all know that he now demands and commands that you let we, his people, go, that we may serve him. And if you don't want to let us go, and you're going to harden your heart, and you're going to think, because you think that we're your property and everything else, and we're not, he said he's going to break his royal foot off in your behind. Never mind what your buffer Negroes and all your paid stooges and coons want to tell you about. He gonna have mercy on you, and everyone's gonna go into the kingdom of heaven, according to Matthew 28:19. Nah, those are all deliberate misconstruing of the scriptures and everything else, which of course we'll prove. But there are other voices out there doing that. Here, we choose to bring listener friendly, and I say listener friendly because the Bible's not harsh, but still, for those of you who don't believe in the Bible, who may still find what we do here pleasing to your ear, we choose not to inundate you and oversaturate with scripture after scripture after scripture to make the conversation easy and smooth to follow along. But you know we're talking from the Bible, though. How about that? We've mastered that art and craft. But still, for all you intelligentsia agencies out there the world over, the Lord, the God of Israel, Yahweh, requires that you let us go now. Let us go, that we may serve him. And if you don't want to let us go, then that's fine. That's fine. Because he is tentatively about to give Christ, who you call Christ, but his name is Yahweh Shai, some say Yahshua, what have you. He's going to be giving him the green light. We've been waiting for a long time for this. Some people don't even think it's going to ever happen. But the green light is going to be given. And when Christ and the holy angels come here to wreak war, everything from this side of the world to all the other four corners of the earth is going to be scorched earth. And we will be reestablished as the world power on this earth forever. It's just that simple. And now, like I said, there's a lot that's going on. We see all kinds of unholy policies and practices still transpiring here in the world today. But what I want to do real quick, though, on this day, I know, it's the whole Thanksgiving thing, but still, here's what I'm going to do. I want to say happy heavenly birthday to my little sister who I lost some years ago to breast cancer, Vashonda Tiffany Bell. I also want to give a heavenly happy birthday to the one and only Mr. James Avery, who we knew as Uncle Phil. And for all those cartoon aficionados, he was the original voice of Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoons. And on this day also was born, one of my all-time favorite martial artist and movie stars, Mr. Lee Jun Fan, better known as Bruce Lee. Okay, I want to give heavenly birthdays as I'm about to those three souls and others who may share the Sagittarius fire and rain on this day. And as we continue on, as I said, there's a lot that's going on. In our last conversations, we talked about the passing of the legendary Miss Viola Fletcher, one of the last remaining three of the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombing. We went hard into that conversation, and you can go reflect on that particular conversation as well as it continues. And we also want you to go back and check out one of our last conversations titled, The Revelations Continue. Now, again, there are a lot of hot topics. We hear about 2 National Guardsmen and a civilian who were cut down by gunmen. That's going to be something that we'll cover later, at a later date and time, possibly tomorrow, if not tomorrow, going into the Sabbath Saturday. We'll cover it Saturday. We have, that's hot off the presses and everything else. But look, what did you think was going to start happening? What you think was going to start happening? As we have all these Gestapo Nazi thugs just calling themselves ICE and all types of other unlawful kicking in the door, waving not so much the 4.4, but the AR-15s and everything else under, basically under this domestic terrorism being supported by this government. What do you think was going to start happening? Then also you have a very curious goings on with the commander, Pete Hegseth. Okay, there's been a recalling once again of 800 or more military generals and other, top brass in the military for yet another discussion and sit down and whatever. I have to get the details on that. But listen, we see that in the largest depth and scope of all these policies and all these things about to come down, as the book of Revelation said it would happen, as other books of the Bible said that it would transpire. Listen clear. Again, for my white listeners in particular, and for all you government, again, all of you government agencies listening to this conversation, no matter what you try and do, none of it is going to work. This is it. All right? You're going out here murdering and shooting down Israelite men, women, and children. These things are being held now by the Lord. And that's why you're now seeing a reaction now. Because everything is spiritual. There are a lot of brothers and sisters now blasting back, fighting back. Look, all that, yes, boss, and you're going to kill us, and it's going to be a one-sided affair? No. See, we're going to spell it out for you here plain. No more of getting these useless, sour, paid Negroes, the Al Sharptons, and his non-action network, and all these other sorry so-called black leaders. No, it's not going to be no more of that. You hit one of us, 5 of y'all going to feel the wrath. The Lord said it's going to be this way. And it's long overdue. Again, it can't come fast enough, but what we're doing right now is trying to appeal to you. But again, we know you can't reason with a beast. You can't. You can't. And for some of you white folks who are decent, don't practice the whole white supremacist doctrine and foolishness, well, your leaders, again, are the ones that are dooming you. Your forefathers and mothers who harden their hearts, refuse to repent, reform, and get right, do right, and be right, they're the ones that have put you on the chopping block. Look at this current administration and what they're doing. Everything is anti-God, anti-Christ, anti-Bible, just anti-decency. And so now we're seeing, again, the spiritual shift. We're seeing all types of happenings in all four corners of the earth as rebellion, and people now wanting for us to come back into our power. They want for we, the children of Israel, to be restored. Because once we get back in play and the divine order of the Lord comes back on this earth, everything is going to be at peace. But right now, that's why the devil is lashing out here, there, and everywhere. And those of us who are of so-called foundational Black American stock, we are going to have to make a choice now. And I understand the seventh answer. We understand that a great many of our people are not going to come back. Some of you going to still stick to and try to think that America is going to be great again. But again, here's what we're going to continue to ask anyone who thinks like that. Please show us where at any time in the history of this country where America has ever been great for us. I still hear some folks talking about the good old days. What good old days? Please break it down. There's never been any good old days. And look at the day. Here we have an administration that is hell-bent, hell-bound, literally hell-bent and hell-bound on trying to lock this world as we know it under a draconian and demonic dragnet, where they want to place themselves as God. And that's why you need outlets like The Conversation Continues. You need all the other outlets that are out here, Black media, that's doing their thing, to inform you and let you know to take off the rose-colored glasses. Don't believe the hype. Do not get caught up in the lies and the confusion, the old bait and switch. No, don't do that. See, that has been also our downfall throughout the centuries. You know, like I said, it's a shame before God, and I mean that literally, a shame before God, that we have served 14 different captivities throughout the centuries. We, the children of Israel. It's embarrassing, to tell you the truth. All right? And here it is now. In this second Exodus that is about to transpire, if you believe the biblical accounts and all that has been articulated, 2/3 of our people are not going to make it. That means out of 3 people, 2 are going to be exterminated. And that really is shameful. But listen, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. And all we're doing now, as we do these broadcasts, week to week, month to month, year to year, at any given time that we are given the Spirit to come here on this great format to communicate with you, All we're here to do is appeal to your spirit and to your intellect, not your emotions. All right? And again, when everything is all said and done, whether I make it up out on this side or not, when this battle goes down, and believe me, a civil war is about to erupt in this country. A race war is going to erupt in this country. It's not something that we call. It is not something that we are going to facilitate, but no. It's going to happen because you know why? Listen, for all of you power mad Idumeans, Edomites, white fellows, again, your whole supremacist doctrine has been faulty, has never existed. And again, you were only given this dispensation of time to rule because we, the children of Israel, had to be punished. But you violated the code, the ethics, and did not keep the commandments of the Bible. And now you and all other nations who have co-conspired with you, well, you're all going to pay. You're all going to be dealt with. And this is not a threat. This is a divine promise. Not by my hand, not by the seventh answer's hand, nor anyone else, by the good God Almighty. And we want you to think about this for a second. Here it is. If we suffered and went through what we went through, what make you think you can't be stepped to? What make you think you are going to be let off the hook? I just want you to consider that. The seventh answer, she wants you to consider that. Because see, there are a lot of you black folks out there listening right now. Some of y'all still caught up in that whole menagerie about God love everybody. That God is a God of love only. Some of you still don't get it. Because as I've always asked during my time when I was going to church, okay, well, if God loved everybody, could you please explain slavery? If God loved everybody, what was up with all this, us being lynched, burned, whipped, chained, raped, and all that other madness that been going on? Break it down. But, when you go into the Bible and you read it for yourself, you see the depth and scope of the Lord. He hates. He loves. He's a God of all varying emotions. We were made in his image. So if we were made in his image, that means there are certain emotions that he has, and there are certain punishments and actions he takes. All right? And we have to just come up out this false Christianity that was given to us by people who claim to be Christian, but fed us to alligators. Who claim to be Christian, but lynched, burned, bombed, maimed, murdered wantonly in the establishment of this country. All right? Who murdered millions of animals to the point of their being extinct? Who murdered millions upon millions upon millions of people? And they want to try to hide this history, but you can't hide this history. No, Just as we have had to suffer for the evils that our fathers committed in the breach of contract established by the one true God, so must this world. And those who ruled, you have to be dealt with. And I'm sick of being here. I'm sick of the porn. I'm sick of all the filth. I'm sick of all the dirty, nasty stink, rancid demons walking with earthly feet. And we need order. I'm sick of all the sick television shows and movies that promote nothing but unholy practices that don't stimulate you at all, intellectually, emotionally. Nah, not. And here it is. It's so out of control now. Our children can't be children anymore with all the foolishness and all the improper practices being put forth in the education system, which now, if you're paying attention to Republicans, Donald J. Trump and the Nazi bunch have dismantled and destroyed. The fact that they have the wife of the World Wrestling Federation, head Vince McMahon. They got Linda McMahon as one of the heads of the now Department of Education. This same Linda McMahon, who in the world, the WWE as they call it now, but we growing up, we knew it as the World Wrestling Federation. She and her husband, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, turned a blind eye to a lot of the sexual practices of Pat Patterson and so many other freaks and perverts in the industry who took advantage of a lot of young wrestlers looking to make a way. And she's a part of the Department of Education. Are you serious right now? We're gonna cover all these things at a later date and time. But I see that someone here is on the panel, and what I'll do is I'm gonna take a quick time out and allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome in. What's on your mind?
Peace, brother Justice. I'm just kind of curious on the outcome to these things, and how would someone prepare themselves moving forward? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
In reference to what?
All the things, like, just you just explaining about the government, the route they're going with the people. As we can see, we just came out of a shutdown and people losing the ability to feed themselves. The economy is definitely is not in its best at this time. Seems like it's gonna even probably get a little worse later on as time go on. And people still have to have ideas on how to prepare themselves, and then you're hearing about being able to get, I guess, some places are scanning you now in order to make purchases and stuff. Whether it's true or not. I guess we'll know what your thoughts on those.
Well, my thought has always been this here, right? I am going to say this here. The only way you can prepare yourself for this here right now, more than anything, because see, I don't have the means from an economic standpoint or anything whatsoever to take care of and cover a great many people out here who are looking to come up out this place. But as the Bible says, first, repent, reform, and recalibrate our thinking on a spiritual level. All right? At the same time, brace ourselves and accept the hardships that are going to come once this war, and as they step up. All right? Listen, I've been a part of plenty of different organizations throughout the years, my brother. And I'm going to tell you right now, though J. Edgar Hoover is long dead, the counterintelligence program is still in effect. And the biggest enemy, the biggest impediment to the different organizations where we were trying to build and establish a community, establish a solid base of operation where for those of our people who want to come and get right, do right, we were going to have a place for them to come. Too many times and at too many instances, they were usurped and destroyed. The only thing I can say now is from a guerrilla soldier standpoint. Fortify yourself, take care of yourself spiritually and mentally as best you can. Brace yourself, keep yourself fortified in the Bible and in your faith. And may the Lord, through Christ, bestow and give you what you need in the time when this thing really steps up. You may even have to accept the fact, brother, that you may have to die. See, I've come to that conclusion. I'm already ready for that as well. If that is the case, then let it be. But I don't have now as far as having a direct. If you can, okay, if you can store up some food and perishables, if you're a part of a, let's say if you're a part of a congregation right now, and you all can get hold of real estate, use that real estate, develop your land, develop living quarters and everything else. If you can do that, as Moses and a lot of the children of Israel did during the time when Egypt was under divine judgment. Do that. But if you on a guerrilla soldier standpoint, then all you can do, hold on, hold fast to what you do have, and just brace yourself. I wish there was more I could say or do, but I can't. That's how I say you can prepare. I hope that answers your question.
It does help on some of the answers, and then you have, some may have families and stuff. Like when you say prepare to die, I mean what about you? Some people got families that you leave behind. I'm not sure if you meant that literally or not. Like what you meant by that. You're looking at it from a bigger perspective than just not
Here's
only
what I
you.
mean by that. Here's what I mean by that, brother. When you look at it historically, when you look at it biblically, there in all wars, there are casualties. All right? And in all wars, there were a great many of our people who did catch their grave. See, understand, we have been taught that when it comes down to revolution and war, it's going to be bloodless. No, it's not. No, it's not. So, yeah, when I say, even if it means preparing to die, and that is also part of it. I won't give you no glee club, happy, happy, joy, joy, false sense of falsehood. In all wars, there are always going to be casualties. Look, over the years, right? People that I love are dying. They're leaving up out of here. That's part of this thing. So there's a mental toughness and a mental understanding that you have to face. If the Son of God Himself, if Christ faced death, and believe me, He was scared. If you believe the biblical accounts and writings, but still He faced it. So if He caught His grave fighting this war, what make you think that a great many of us won't be caught up in that? But I'm gonna say this here: better to die for a worthy cause than to go out like a sucker. So that's what I mean by that. And these are certain things that must be taught and accepted, if that makes sense. Go ahead.
Even when you use Christ, I mean, I'm not sure if there's any account where you're where he had certain loved ones like minors that he had to watch over. And then most people who have the revolution spirit who die, intentionally. I mean, your people assassinated who had kids. I mean, that's kind of a little different. when they get assassinated. But when you say you're going out to die, that's not more assassinated. That's more you giving up your life. Like how Christ gave up his life technically, but he didn't have like a certain type of family, meaning like a minor or disabled person, or whatever the case may be, that he got to watch over somebody. So it was a more acceptable in people's eyes when it's like that, versus someone being still revolution, but they got assassinated. Can't really control that part per se. When someone decides to just come at you and just get rid of you, and you willing to give up your life. So I was asking from the point of view that when you have people out there who have these responsibilities, do they just prepare themselves to like? I get the angle what you getting at. Like, do they just give up themselves and leave the ones who cannot defend themselves?
And the answer is no. See, just like Moses and all the other warriors of Israel in times past, all the invalid, those who were weak, they were corralled and they were protected. All right, this is not a so. Of course, in this battle, however, when this war dropped and when things already pop, then whoever has the ability to protect their loved ones and those who are weak, then more power to them. But at the same time, no, still, casualties will have to happen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay? The Bible said it would be that way. And therefore, as I said, every day, every waking day, from the moment I took on this my nationality, the moment I took on the truth and the reins of trying to be a fighter for what's right and what's just, I recognize my life is at risk. As the Lord said in the book of Romans 13:1, we must present ourselves as living sacrifices. And that's what we have to understand. That just like in war, we defend lives, we may have to take a life and lose our lives. But as Christ said, he or that she that loses their life for me and for what's right will gain their life. But if you try to save your life, you want to go along just to get along with evil, and you know it's evil, you're going to lose your life. And it's a tough, bitter pill to swallow, that particular reality. But this is what we have to understand. And like I said, if Christ himself faced the judgment and faced his death and assassination for the betterment of our people, then who are we that we should not be prepared and ready? If Stephen and all the other disciples faced it, great women in the scriptures faced death. Our forefathers and mothers who put it down in this era, the Medgar Evers, the Malcolm X's, the Fannie Lou Amos, Martin Luther King, his mother as well, all cut down for righteousness' sake. Who are we that we should not brace ourselves for that reality if that is our destiny and our fate? As I said, I wish I had a better place and a better angle to bring our people to a safe haven. But over the years, my brother, some of the biggest betrayals have been by traitors among us. Like you had the Pharisees and Sadducees of yesterday, you got them today. They're still here today, except they're being called Eastern Stars, Masons, and other names. And this is what we have to be able to deal with and contend with, if that makes sense. And let me see. Let's see who's talking. And you can make your rebuttal if you wish, brother.
I mean, I don't have like an actual rebuttal per se. But it's a thought, like when you speak about Jesus saying you have to give your life. I mean, I was under the assumption they're talking about from a spiritual standpoint of view, meaning that Paul talk about take off the old mind and put on a new mind, like that's just a way of thinking, like the mind of Christ. Not that is a physical life being given up, because we are our thoughts. So you die from one way of thinking into a new way of thinking. That's in Christ Jesus. You actually give up your life and you gain a new life.
Yes,
And
I
that,
understand this. I understand the spiritual ramifications of it, and all of its requirements. But at the same time, though, in all war, I'm gonna repeat it again. In every war ever fought, every war campaign, there have always been casualties in the physical, and that's something that we need to get ready for. Get ready for too. See, all the murders of our people throughout America right now. Somebody got an answer for that. Someone has to be dealt with on the physical plane. So, as the Bible did say, as Christ did say in prophecy, there shall be wars and rumors of wars. Nations shall rise against nations. So that means it's going to be some thumping, some blows, whatever else are going to be delivered out here. That is something as unpleasant as it may sound. We have to look at it from a historical standpoint. Coming out of Egypt, coming out of Babylon, Rome, and all the other captivities where our people suffered, there were wars and there were casualties in the physical. And that's something that,
so,
again, here we trying to get everyone prepared for that as well.
what you think about the concept? But they also talk about the believers in Christ would be take away. I mean, would it be a battle or something like that they gonna face when they're gonna be taken away before that stuff even kick off?
Okay, so let me inform you that he's not a believer of the Bible. He's basically going to continue to question you. And I'm about to cut that off right now. Hold on, because we're not about to do that just us
But he's
right now.
he's using the Bible, so I'm going off
I
the.
understand, but he let me finish. He came off with that. That's not the discussion of tonight, though. So I understand that you got questions. We're going to leave that to the end because, first of all, I know that your intentions. And I know that you're not really here trying to have a typical build with him to have an understanding. You're trying to trap him up on a whole bunch of questions. And we're not about to do that, okay? But you can stay for the real information for the discussion tonight. You can do that and hold that other questions for after in another discussion because we're
Well,
not about to do that.
I picked up that he's a non-believer, and I was welcoming it. But if you want to, if you're gonna put the brakes on it, then I have to follow the house rules, and we'll continue this conversation at another time. But thank you for coming in and trying and asking the questions that you did ask. All
Because I
right.
made it clear to him that this ain't the time for that tonight. But I let it little go to see where it was going with it, and thought it was going to be a little quick here and there, but it's dragging out to a discussion now. It's a answer Q&A round, and we ain't even got through the information that we supposed to be bringing out tonight.
Yes. Okay. You look. You run the ship. Okay. You're the FAA and everything else, and I'm here. And as a pilot, I gotta follow follow my course and follow the instructions given.
Yeah,
It's
we can,
just that
like I
simple.
said, we can welcome it at the end. You know what I mean? But I don't want to, like, you know, deflect from what the real information tonight is. I know him. I know what type of, form he gonna come at you in.
No, I've conversed with this gentleman before, so I'm familiar with him, so I get it. I understand. It's not a problem. So we know what we're gonna do is we're gonna get back on course. Though we did take a slight detour, but the FAA, the Lioness Seventh Answer said she wants us back on course, so I have to go. I gotta follow my flight plan. You all. Perhaps we'll do an open mic one night. Okay, we'll do it that way. Open conversation one night. Moving on now. So now we get back on H. Rap Brown. The passing of the legendary H. Rap Brown. If you don't know who he is, well, for all my young viewers and listeners out here, we're going to introduce you to who he was. He was one of the most pivotal voices in what was called and known as the Black Power movement. He was also the one of the heads of what was known as the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and he would also ultimately join the Black Panther Party with Bobby Seale, Huey P. Newton, and so many other, Eldridge Cleaver, and so many other powerful voices of the time. So with that being said, we're going to go into the life and times of the one and only H. Rap Brown. And fair use, y'all. And we hope you enjoy as the conversation continues.
In the late 60s, there are a few radical groups more controversial than the Black Panthers.
You Ronnie Baby.
The Black Panther Party was truly the first in-your-face movement in the history of this country.
Led by the dynamic personalities of Bobby Seale, Huey Newton, and Eldridge Cleaver, the Panthers boldly challenged white America to deliver justice and opportunity.
When the party says power to the people, we ain't diving a pound. We say power to the people. Power to the people.
Our slogan was about all power to all the people. That's what it was about.
Armed with guns, they advocate self-defense.
The police occupy our community as a foreign troop occupies territory.
And, if need be, the violent overthrow of the government.
You sort of had this idea was this rogue group of out-of-control black people with guns shooting police.
We say, bring it on. If you want war, let there be war.
They are attacked by the FBI and police, turning city streets into battlegrounds.
Message received. To be a member of the Black Panther meant you were a target of the United States government.
It cost people their
Back down.
It was heroes of the black community because they spoke up and said what they had to be said.
These are the counterculture icons who changed the world. In this hour, the Black Panthers, Lords of the Revolution.
I am a revolutionary.
It's the mid-1960s, the dawning of the era of Black Pride, and two visions of the black struggle in America compete for ascendancy. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King stands for Gandhian nonviolence. Malcolm X sees Dr. King as too cautious and unwilling to retaliate against white violence.
We declare our right on this earth to be given the rights of a human being by any means necessary.
In February 1965, Malcolm is assassinated, And by August, Watts is burning.
6 days of rioting in a Negro section of Los Angeles left behind scenes reminiscent of war-torn cities.
All across the country, you had rampant police brutality going on, abuse. You turn on your TV, you see the civil rights marches in the South. You see the dogs being sicked on the marchers, being showered and beaten.
The tide of nonviolence was changing in America. People had a more militant attitude, and it was led by young people. And we weren't going to take the same that our parents took.
The new black militancy is led by Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown, who raised their fists in a rallying cry, Black Power.
We want black power. What do you want? What do you want?
Black Power sort of released this tremendous excitement and energy. It was sort of like a huge cultural earthquake.
In a 3 to 5 year period, we went from identifying ourselves as Negro to colored to black. I thought it was great. Black was beautiful.
And it's that moment in which the Black Panther Party came to the fore.
In Oakland, 2 student activists at Merritt College, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, are determined to create a revolutionary organization to address what they see as the problem of the racist power structure in America.
We had absolutely no name for this organization. And Huey says, well, why don't we just name it the Black Panther Party? I said, agreed. Shake, shake, shake. I said, okay, bang.
They chose this image of the Panther as the coolest cat in the jungle. It looked really sleek and was really cool, but would only fight when it was backed into the corner.
After flipping the coin, Bobby becomes chairman and Huey Minister of Defense. They're an unusual pair, to be sure. Huey is a legendary street fighter with 6 months of law school under his belt.
In America, black people are treated very much as the Vietnamese people or any other colonized people, because we're used with brutal lives. The police occupy our community as a foreign troop occupies territory.
Huey was very smart in terms of political theories, and Bobby was an organizing genius.
Bobby is a jazz drummer, comedian, carpenter, and draftsman working in Oakland for a youth jobs program. He is a natural-born rapper.
When the party says power to the people, we ain't jiving a pound. We say power to the people. Give more power to the people.
Our slogan was by all power to all the people, a progressive people's community empowerment. That's what it was about.
We would say black power to black people, red power to red people, brown power to brown people, yellow power to yellow people. People ain't never heard that before.
October 1966, Huey and I drew up a basic 10-point platform and program that outlined the basic political desires and needs of black people in America.
The 10-point program combines basic demands for full employment and decent housing with more radical objectives like the exemption of black men from military service.
The ultimate goal of the Black Panther Party was the total transformation of the United States.
Point number 7 is by far the most controversial. An immediate end to police brutality and the murder of black people. Huey and Bobby put the idea into action by following the police with guns and law books in hand to prevent incidents of harassment.
We were all armed with loaded weapons, as long as they were not concealed where they're not illegal under California law. And Huey, in all his need to be precise and to the point. No, such and such a California State Supreme Court ruling states that every citizen has a right to stand and observe a police officer carrying out his duty as long as they stand a reasonable distance away. I'm standing on approximately 20 feet from you and observe you whether you like it or not. So he had researched the law. This is the killer of this whole kind of operation. We knew what we were doing.
For Huey to stand up against that.
Now, see, this is what Ronald Wilson Reagan, who was the governor of California, and all other governors across the nation took exception to. See, these young brothers understood the fact that, listen, all the attacks on our people transpired because they didn't have a military, a reactionary force in play. See, the whole thing with Martin Luther King, the only thing that Martin Luther King did wrong, sure, there'd be something, well, they weren't following the Israelite doctrine. Okay, right, okay. Getting past all that, the Lord still had a spirit on these brothers to understand. Defending yourself was paramount. See, when the only thing that Martin Luther King went wrong in was the whole following non-self-defense, talking about non-violence. See, listen, it's a difference between being violent and defending yourself. That is what was problematic with Mr. King and his movement, following Mahatma Gandhi, not what the Bible said. Because if he followed the Bible, he would have saw where it says, in a time for peace and a time for war. And everyone loves to misconstrue what happened to Christ. But if you paid attention to the Bible, you'll see where Christ will pick up a whip and beat and put foot to behind. But somehow all those scriptures get neglected. But in the process of time, having conversations with Malcolm X, H. Rap Brown, and Stokely Carmichael, Martin Luther King made some serious radical changes in letting young people come into his organization. And from 1964 to 68. That's the Martin Luther King that I like. And he wound up getting annihilated. But these brothers understood you had to have a military in play. And this is what Ronald Wilson Reagan, when he was a governor, took exception to, along with the then President John Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson. Just want to put that in your ear and explain certain things to some of y'all who weren't. I was born in this era, and some of y'all, like I said, unfortunately, I'm a walking history. Well, fortunately, I'm a walking history book now, and as an elder, I'm gonna give you the full scoop and depth and scope. Let's run the video, Seventh Answer.
Onslaught with a gun in his hand says, "You try to shoot me, I would shoot you, I would defend myself." That's like throwing a rock into a pond and watching the waves happen throughout America. No one had ever did that.
Members of the Oakland PD are outraged, but a folk legend is born and news of the Panthers' existence begins to spread.
I became the first female recruit. And I said, well, can I have a gun? Like the guys. And they laughed and said, well, okay.
The Panthers solidify their image with an intimidating militant look.
The thing about the Panthers was their black jackets and their fros and their shades. That was like, whoa.
To me, uniform represents organization. If the people in the community see that you're organized, then you're going to get a lot more respect.
Oh, we were cute. Okay. Very recognizable.
The Black Panther Party very much became a part of the look of the 60s and pop culture of the 60s.
The Panthers protest rent evictions, they demand a traffic light at a dangerous intersection, and publish a newspaper addressing community issues.
I've done nobody wrong, but I'm treated so bad.
As the Black Panther Party grows in stature, a conservative lawmaker introduces a gun control bill designed to stop the party in its tracks. On May 2nd, 1967, Bobby Seale leads 30 Black Panthers to Sacramento to take on the state legislature.
To destroy the militancy and to uproot the order and the discipline that they had. As we progress in this video, you'll see. Okay? When they sent creeps like that Darth Perry that we covered in other videos. Okay? This is where we're at now, as we cover the life and times of Black Panther H. Rap Brown. Continue the video, Seventh Answer.
While Huey stays in Oakland to manage the press.
When we got there, Ronald Reagan was on the front line talking to future leaders of America or something. And so the young kids saw us coming up to walk with all these guns and rifles, and a whole horde of them came over to us. They thought we were a gun club. So naturally, some of the news cameras followed.
The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense calls upon the American people in general and the black people in particular to take careful note of the racist California legislature.
Next, they enter the assembly where the bill is being discussed.
The state assembly was in the midst of a heated debate when the young Negroes, armed with loaded rifles, shotguns, and pistols, pushed past startled guards into the House chamber.
I look around and several legislators have ducked under their damn desks. They look up and see these black people coming here with these damn guns and rifles and
Am I under arrest? Take your hands off me if I'm not under arrest.
The police, of course, were dazed and confused, as you might say.
But I'll tell you one thing, I was scared.
As soon as the Panthers leave the state capitol building, they're swarmed by police.
cops came and methodically arrested every last one of us.
They violated the law by entering the chambers while the assembly was in session.
I went to court and I was sentenced to 6 months in jail.
They put trumped up charges of conspiracy and felonies on everyone who went in to exercise a constitutional right.
The events of this day have a polarizing effect. For Black America, the Panthers represent a new, in-your-face form of protest.
That was what we call a colossal event. Bobby Seale read that mandate that went across this country like a wildfire.
No one had ever taken guns into a Capitol, and I was a junior in high school and seen that, and it kind of blew my mind.
For the white establishment, the Panthers represent pure chaos.
There is absolutely no reason why out on the street today a civilian should be carrying a loaded weapon.
In a short time, the Panther Bill, as the party calls it, is passed. It is now illegal to carry a loaded weapon in California. But the government isn't going to stop there. The FBI is now watching the Panthers' every move.
That was the wrong thing to do. You do not walk up the steps of any state capitol in the United States carrying rifles and shotguns and expect everybody to say, "Oh boy, isn't that nice?" They were lucky they weren't shot right there.
It's 1967 and the hippies flock to San Francisco to celebrate the Summer of Love, while in Detroit and Newark, racial tensions with police erupt in violence, leaving the cities in ruins. It has been months since the Panthers stormed the state capitol. As a result, Chairman Bobby Seale is serving 6 months in jail, along with most of the membership. Huey Newton, Minister of Defense, is struggling to keep the party together.
Huey came to see me in jail. He said, "The party's over. You know, we lost the office." I said, "Well, Huey, when I get out, I'll reorganize everything." Next thing I know, Huey is arrested and he's also wounded, shot in the side.
Early on the morning of October 28th, Huey is stopped by police. A quick and deadly gun battle erupts, but it's unclear who fires first.
The facts: 9 shots, 1 dead policeman, another wounded, a bloody law book on the street, and Newton shot. He was seriously wounded, taken to the hospital, where on the operating table, he found himself surrounded by policemen who threatened him.
Newton recovers from his wounds, but is charged with murder, thrown in jail, and is now facing the gas chamber.
I'll only tell the truth and express my innocence, which I am innocent.
With founders Huey and Bobby in jail, a new and provocative leader emerges, Eldridge Cleaver. His best-selling book of prison writings, Soul on Ice, has made him a media sensation.
Eldridge Cleaver became a pop icon. He was a best-selling author. He was an ex-convict who admitted that he was in prison for rape. He was crazy, but brilliant at the same time.
This is a combination that people weren't quite prepared for. But his attitude was, ready or not, here we come.
We are not in a mind to sit around to observe this and to build monuments to Huey or to sing songs about Huey. We will go down with Huey.
Eldridge and his wife Kathleen together step forward as the primary spokespeople for the party.
All power to the people.
If Eldridge was the Minister of Information, she was the Mistress of Information. She became like the spokeswoman of the Black Panther Party.
Everybody knows that all the people don't have liberties, All the people don't have freedom, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.
Kathleen Cleaver was like the ideal symbol of Black beauty in terms of what a revolutionary black woman was.
Dig it? Isn't it beautiful? All right.
Eldridge and Kathleen put together the whole defense committee on trying to save Huey's life.
We had a lot of rallies, and we did as much to collect money for his legal defense, as possible.
When Huey Newton was arrested, he was charged with killing a policeman. You never heard of any Black youth killing a white policeman. So this was like everybody noticed. And we were able to build on that and tell people who Huey Newton was and what the Black Panther Party stood for.
Free Huey!
April 4th, 1968. Martin Luther King is assassinated in
I've
Memphis.
come to that conclusion myself. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Go ahead, Seventh Answer. Go ahead.
Riots explode in over 100 cities across America. Cleaver sees the moment of Black revolution as having arrived.
We say, bring it on. If you want war, let there be war. This is what we're saying. Is that clear?
On the night of April 6th, he appears in Oakland with an armed caravan of Panthers, including 17-year-old Bobby Hutton, the party's first recruit.
In a shootout with police, Hutton had holed up in this basement with Eldridge Cleaver, the party's Minister of Information. Cleaver came out of the house stark naked, defenseless. Hutton ran, police said, and died.
Bobby Hutton came out with his hands in the air and was gunned down by this racist pig department of Oakland.
We found out that he was dead and Eldridge was arrested. We went back down to the house where it happened. There were so many bullet holes in that house. And of course, there was blood all over the street. And it was the most sickening sight I ever saw.
I walked through. It's just eerie. It's not a police action. Okay, it was war.
The Black Panther Party is now under siege. Community empathy swells during Hutton's funeral, which is attended by thousands, including Marlon Brando, signaling the growing support of Hollywood figures.
That could have been my son lying there. And I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to start right now.
Eldridge Cleaver is now in prison, charged with assault and attempted murder on police.
It was pretty devastating. That doesn't look like a person who's going to get out, but he did.
He was freed by a Superior Court judge who said Cleaver was held not as a criminal, but because of his political beliefs.
The judge's decision stuns law enforcement. Cleaver is released in June on $50,000 bail. The Peace and Freedom Party nominate him for President of the United States, and he emerges fired up to confront the entire California white establishment.
And I want to thank Mickey Mouse, Ronald Reagan.
Here comes this man that had the nerve to call, the governor of California, Mickey Mouse Ronald Reagan.
And I have a special little word for Ronald Reagan in the morning. You, Ronnie, baby.
And then challenge Ronald Reagan to a duel.
I challenge the punk to a duel to the death, and he can choose his own weapons. Could be a gun, a knife, or marshmallow. I'll beat him to death with a marshmallow.
And he occupies the kind of place in pop culture that someone like a Tupac, almost like a 50 Cent, Eldridge did that and then some because there was political purpose behind it.
Cleaver's fiery rhetoric brings the Panthers national attention. His derogatory term for the police becomes a potent anti-establishment slogan.
Huey called them racist dog police. Eldridge is the one that calling them pigs.
Specifically, it was coined about the police and then expanded to the greedy, avaricious pig businessmen and the fascist pig politicians. And that fired the imagination of people who just thought that we just had to take it.
It's common speak, this F the police comes long before NWA song.
What Eldridge did was put the Black Panther Party on the map. He was the person who had the sort of the what you would call now the media strategy. He envisioned this as a national revolutionary movement, and it became a national revolutionary movement.
In July, Huey's trial opens in Oakland. Thousands of demonstrators gather outside to chant their support.
Black is beautiful. Say that I want to free.
To white America, we were a nightmare. Very frightening to see men and women talking about all power to the people, death to the pigs.
The revolution has come. Off the pig. Time to pick up the gun. Off the pig.
To see these black teenagers in black berets and black leather jackets out on the courthouse steps chanting Free Huey, this was quite spectacular for young black people, so they loved it.
Black America is emboldened by the Panthers. Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their fists at the 1968 Olympics. James Brown sings Say It Loud, and the world is listening.
James Brown doesn't say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, unless you have a movement that kind of like comes before it. It ignited this quest for being at least a little bit intellectual, but also at the same time not take no. And that was a rough pill for America to swallow.
Yeah, stop for a second, seventh answer. Yes, it was a bitter pill, as Chuck D said, and this is why, as time went on, they would come up with all types of illegal maneuvers. I'm going to say it again, illegal maneuvers to undermine and destroy every black organization that was taking up the military action. See, again, one thing about this white supremacist doctrine, it can't float if you have black men and then their women all in order, in sync, taking no shorts and having a reactionary unit in place to deal with any kind of injustice. So this is why Ronald Reagan, and along with J. Edgar Hoover and all others, all they spent their midnight oil burning hours strategizing and coming up with ways to destroy the nucleus of the Black Panther Party and other parties that would come forth, like the Black Liberation Army in time. And unfortunately, it would work because traitors, always traitors. And Tyrone, you're saying I'm wicked. Okay, if I'm wicked, doing what's right, then I will continue to be a wicked Israelite. Okay, Brother Tyrone, just letting you know I see you, big Mississippi. You just can't help yourself, brother. You just can't help yourself. It's okay, though. Moving on, let's continue on. We're talking about the life and times of H. Rap Brown. Cool and yet profound. We're covering the Black Panther Party as the premise and the base before we move into the personal life of the legend who we lost at 82 years of age. Run the video, seventh answer.
By the summer of '68, the Free Huey movement has helped build the Black Panther Party into a vibrant national organization with over 5,000 members.
Now, Huey Newton is a hero to many young people. His Black Panthers, the most talked about black organization in the United States.
In September, a jury finds Huey Newton guilty of manslaughter, sentencing him to 2 to 15 years in prison. That November, Eldridge Cleaver learns the decision granting his release has been reversed. He's headed back to prison.
The 33-year-old Cleaver has spent half his life behind bars. He said earlier this week that he can't go back, and so the question remains, will Cleaver surrender later today?
What would you like him to do?
Not go back to prison.
Is there any way it can be avoided?
Yes.
In what way?
Just don't go.
Rather than go back to prison, Eldridge went underground. So he disappeared in November 1968.
Do you know where he is now?
No.
What about Eldridge Cleaver? Is he in Cuba and is he happy there?
I don't know where Eldridge Cleaver is. I assume that he's somewhere in the third world.
With Huey in jail and Eldridge on the run, Bobby Seale uses the momentum of the party's growth to institute a series of social programs.
The Panthers are proudest of their free breakfast program for black children. Panthers say that 6,000 children are served breakfast across the country each week.
I had 5,000 members in 49 cities throughout the United States of America. So I says, we're going to help organize and unify people in opposition to this power structure. We're going to serve the damn people.
The Free Breakfast Initiative is just the first of the party's survival programs designed to educate and organize the people.
I was actually in the Black Panther Party lunch program. I'm hungry, I'm out here playing, and these lunches are slamming from the Black Panther Party. Whoa. Free Huey.
Soon the Panthers open a liberation school, establish free medical clinics, and give away food and clothing all over the nation.
That's what the Black Panther Party is about. We're about serving people really. So many of our programs were the predecessors for programs that we take for granted now.
This was clear evidence of social commitment, but they focused in on what they would like to call criminal behavior.
As the Panthers gain members, they move directly into the sights of FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who declares them the greatest threat to the internal security of the United States.
The late 60s, Hoover ordered the FBI to start an aggressive campaign against the Black Panther Party. No one could question his authority, and if they did, they're gone.
Formed in 1957 to target communists, Hoover's counterintelligence program, known as COINTELPRO, is now aimed directly at the Panthers.
We were being infiltrated at a rapid rate. Every 4 or 5 people was an FBI informant.
They said, hey, we want you to infiltrate the Black Panther Party, which I did. I was from the hood, you know, so I knew what to say and how to say it.
In his memos, Hoover warns his agents to be on the lookout for a, quote, black messiah who could unify and electrify the black nationalist movement. In Los Angeles, the FBI perceives such a leader in Al Prentice Bunchy Carter. Together with Deputy Minister John Huggins and his wife Erica, the party is gaining power by organizing LA gangs. The FBI conceives of a scheme to neutralize the chapter by exploiting an existing feud with a rival black nationalist group, the US organization.
The FBI wanted to pit one group against the other, hoping that if they got into a gang fight, maybe they'd kill each other, and that'd be that.
They're drawing cartoons and sending letters and manipulating.
The rivalry comes to a head at UCLA, where Bunchy and John are students.
Several shots were fired by an unknown person or persons. As a result, Mr. Huggins and Mr. Carter were killed instantly.
I first heard about it from a fellow agent on the squad that 2 informants had just killed 2 Panthers on the UCLA campus.
The US organization were running dogs. They work for the FBI.
At this time, we have not identified any particular suspects.
Did you capture the 4 men who went out the building?
No.
My daughter was 3 weeks old, and so I wasn't on the UCLA campus. I got a phone call from the Black Panther Party office in South Central. A friend said, Erica, 2 brothers had been shot. And of course, in that moment, I knew exactly what he meant. And then I said, are they dead? And then both of us were silent. And he said, yes, they're dead.
It's a sort of one of those horrible turning points. After that, everything else is different.
Over the next several months, there will be raids in cities across the country. On April 2nd in New York, 21 Panthers are arrested in a pre-dawn raid.
The door flew off the hinges, and I was thrown to the floor and handcuffed and whizzed down to Manhattan Supreme Court. And I remember walking in and seeing, it seemed like every Panther I knew there, also in chains.
The grand jury has returned an indictment containing 12 counts, all felonies,
charging members of the Black Panther Party with the conspiracy to bomb New York City department stores.
People were calling us the New York Panther 21, and people were calling us political prisoners. And this wasn't a joke. They intended to give us 300 plus years.
The growing presence of FBI informers is causing Panthers to turn on each other. In New Haven, Panthers torture and murder a suspected informant.
The investigation began yesterday afternoon following the discovery of a slain man lying in a river in Middlefield.
Police arrest Erica Huggins, founder of the New Haven chapter, and other local Panthers on conspiracy to murder. Bobby Seale is also indicted.
They wanted Bobby Seale. That's what they were after. And the claim was that Bobby had ordered the death of this man and that I had encouraged him to do so.
The Black Panther Party is now reeling and on the defensive, but not about to back down. By August 1969, the era of peace and love is coming to an end. President Richard Nixon declares war on student activists, hippies, and radicals.
That was the age of Aquarius.
Indeed. Also, yeah, let me chime in. And yeah, Richard, you're looking at President Richard Milhouse Nixon, also known as Tricky Dick. Yeah, they were on the Panthers behind. But you see, nothing's changed. The old divide and conquer strategy, their playbook always remains the same. And they went in using provocateurs, using plants to kill these people. And most of them were FBI agents assigned to kill these people and just do these disruptions. And in the process of time, you have Shaka Khan, Aretha Franklin, Roberta Flack, Sammy Davis Jr., and so many other brothers and sisters who were down for the cause in the area of entertainment, using their money to actually finance and hire lawyers for brothers and sisters in the Black Panther Party. That's right. That's how deep entertainers were in the game before the rules changed in that area too. Let's continue on. Seventh answer.
Panther Party chairman Bobby Seale, in addition to his New Haven indictment, is arrested for charges connected to protests outside the '68 Democratic National Convention.
You had Huey in jail on the one end. You had Eldridge Cleaver in exile. And they probably said, dang, we missed the guy. This is the guy we should have put in jail in the first place.
The indictments against the Chicago Eight accuse Seale and 7 white radicals of conspiring to incite a riot. Denied the attorney of his choice, Seale demands the right to represent himself.
He showed up without a lawyer, and he stood up to make an opening statement, and the judge told him to sit down. And he kept talking, and he said, I have the right to represent myself.
I said, if you deny my right, I see you as only as a racist, a fascist, and a bigot.
That went on for several days until they chained him, gagged him.
They leg cuffed me with metal cuffs, metal handcuffs to a metal folding chair, put some tape over my mouth. And so I said, I want my constitutional right to defend myself.
It was frightening. You could hear him through the gag, fighting.
So I said, clang, 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 clang. And I'm making noise. You can't have a trial with some guy chain shackling gag. And they recessed the court for the day.
The courtroom sketches of the bound and gagged Bobby Seale provoke an outrage that resonates far beyond the Black liberation movement.
When I saw that he had 16 pieces of adhesive tape strapped across his mouth, I knew that we would unite in this country to stop this trial.
As the drama of the trial plays out, a charismatic 20-year-old named Fred Hampton becomes the leader of the Chicago branch of the Black Panther Party.
Black people need some peace. White people need some peace. And we are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about some peace.
He was taking these gang members that numbered in the thousands and turning them into a revolutionary force. And for that, he had to go as far as the system was concerned.
14 policemen burst into a West Side Chicago apartment said to be a stronghold of the Black Panthers. They suspected weapons were stored there. Fred Hampton, deputy chairman of the Illinois Panthers, was killed in his bed. Mark Clark, a friend from Peoria, was also shot to death.
Chicago officials claim that the police have defended themselves accordingly when attacked by Panthers. But evidence soon proves otherwise.
This door, which is the door entering into the living room, has 2 holes in it.
We were able to show, based on film, that all the bullets coming into that apartment came from one direction, and that was from the police side. One had gone out.
This blatant act of legitimatized murder strips all credibility from law enforcement. In the context of other acts against militant blacks in recent months, it suggests an official policy of systematic repression.
He was murdered in his sleep. He was drugged by an informant who gave the floor plan of this safe house he was living in to the FBI.
It was the first time that I ever realized this is a conspiracy of government and prosecutors and judges and the whole power elite to destroy these people.
What happened to Fred Hampton made us think that they weren't coming in just to do arrests, they were coming in to murder people.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary.
By the end of the year, nearly every Panther office across America is attacked by police and FBI, culminating in the December raid on the LA headquarters in a standoff that takes 5 hours and is covered on live TV. For the first time, mainstream news organizations begin talking about the genocide of the Panthers.
Message received: to be a member of the Black Panther meant you were a target of the United States government.
The events of the year set off an outpouring of support as the Panthers raised mass organizing to a new level.
Free the Panthers off the pig! Free the Panthers off the pig!
Part of my job was to coordinate all the mass rallies of support and so forth.
Black Panther Defense Committee are calling for a mass rally to be held May 1st in New Haven.
When Big Man came and they needed a safe house, I got sort of pulled into it. A nice white kid from the suburbs who volunteered his father's apartment for the largest Panther I ever saw in my life, and his white girlfriend and his automatic. I thought, God, if my father walks in now, it's going to be to pay, man.
Attention to the Panthers' struggle for survival also draws celebrities to the cause.
Bert Snyder, producer of Easy Rider, Candace Bergen, Jane Fonda. These were all folks who related to what the Black Panther Party was doing.
I found myself winding up in places like Jane Fonda's penthouse, talking to wealthy people about what was going on in the Panther 21 case. It wasn't lost on us that it was a little bit of a paradox and a trip to be in someone's gorgeous townhouse. But we thought that they were willing to donate, that we would take this money and that we would do good with it.
In August 1970, with Panther support at its peak, Huey Newton is released after nearly 3 years of incarceration.
Members and admirers of the Black Panther Party were gathered by the hundreds at the Alameda County Courthouse. Inside, Huey P. Newton, founder of the Black Panther Party, was freed on $50,000 bail, pending a new trial on the charge of voluntary manslaughter.
It was a beautiful thing. There had to be 5,000 people there to see Huey get out of jail.
When he could be seen above the crowd, Newton tore off his convict shirt. It was a gesture of defiance, of contempt for white authority.
It was such a joyous day because it showed people the power of the people. People walked up and down. They swore Huey was getting the gas chamber. He would never see the streets again. But here he is out on the streets. And that was a people's victory.
It seems a remarkable moment of vindication. What nobody can imagine is the party is about to tear itself apart. By 1971, the once unified leadership of the Black Panther Party seems worlds apart.
Just get your feet back on the ground.
With Bobby Seale still stuck in a prison cell, Huey Newton takes control of the party and, to the surprise of many, softens his militant stance.
Since his celebrated release in 1970, Huey Newton's attitude has changed. America's most famous urban guerrilla now says that he rejects the rhetoric of the gun.
The talk about the gun has proven more detrimental to the party in many cases than an aid to the party and the People's Revolution.
At the same time, Eldridge Cleaver finally emerges after 2 years underground. He's halfway around the world in Algeria, where he and Kathleen have started an international branch of the party.
Power to the people.
We petitioned the government to allow us to create an office there, because what Eldridge wanted was a base where people could come, get trained in guerrilla tactics, and go back to the United States.
Unlike Huey Newton, Cleaver is still preaching a provocative doctrine of armed revolution.
When the American people hear that you want to shoot your way into the United States Senate, take off the head of a senator.
And take off the head of Richard Nixon, you see?
Well, what does that mean? This is rhetoric?
This is not rhetoric. I'm telling you that all of the pigs of the power structure have to be apprehended.
And Eldridge Cleaver, what can I say? He was outraged. He was crazy.
Eldridge is pushing orphan pigs and stuff like that. Where Huey is talking about, we need to get away from that. We need to go back into the community. We need to rally the people around basic necessities. So you had a split in the ideology of the party. These two personalities were colliding together.
This conflict in ideology will now be exploited by the FBI as agents forge letters to both Newton and Cleaver, playing on their egos and fomenting mistrust.
The FBI did.
And this is exactly why there were a great many people who now, today, and even at that time, started looking at Eldridge Cleaver side-eyed. Here it is now. He knew saying all that ridiculousness was what it was. Although the Homeland Security Bill didn't exist at that time, him talking all that, indeed, inflammatory rhetoric was definitely deliberate. See, he was controlled opposition. Oh, he was gone for a number of years, but now we found him in Algeria, and yet here he is talking all that ridiculousness while Huey, Bobby Seale, and everyone else was talking about getting back to the community and serving the people and having a defense mechanism. This fool, they define him as crazy. No, he wasn't crazy. He was crazy, all right, like a fox, because he was a plant. Think about it. Run the video, Seventh Answer.
Write letters pretending to come from Huey Newton and from Cleaver and from a lot of other people, accusing different people of being informants. It was driving everybody nuts, including Huey Newton.
Huey was made to believe that Eldridge wanted to kill him. And Eldridge was given letters that showed that Huey was trying to distance himself from him, that Huey disrespected him, that, whatever they thought would work.
In February 1971, the conflict comes to a head when Huey Newton publicly kicks Cleaver and the entire international section out of the party. The split divides what's left of the party into factions, with half of the chapters siding with Cleaver, the other half with Newton.
Now, people who you lived with, people who you loved, people who you thought you would give your life for, have become your enemy.
We're not trying to straighten out the party. As far as we're concerned, the party is dead. The party is finished. The party is obsolete.
As the party breaks apart, the Panthers win two significant legal victories. In the spring of 1971, after the longest political trial in New York history, all 21 Panthers are acquitted after 45 minutes of jury deliberation.
It's a total rejection of everything that prosecution stood for. Police statism, undercover agents, wiretapping. To me, it's important. It is so deeply important.
And just 2 weeks later, after a tense and dramatic trial in the New Haven conspiracy case, Erica Huggins and Bobby Seale go free.
In 3 hours, they found me not guilty. Bobby Seale's not guilty. This is trumped up against him.
But these emotional victories are bittersweet. As Bobby Seale returns to leadership, he is forced to deal with a fractured party and with Huey Newton, who is caught in a downward spiral of heavy cocaine use.
When I come out of jail, my 49 chapters and branches of cities that we operate now is down to 28. He was running around calling himself the Supreme Commander. You know what I mean? And I said, damn, that's not what we're about, Huey. He's high on cocaine.
No, I always, I'm a man who listens to the people.
From Huey in that famous picture with the wicker chair, with the shotgun, and the spear, that grew into a reality that created, in some ways, a Frankenstein.
He becomes a victim of the cult of the personality. And instead of going along with established rules of the Black Panther Party, he wants everything to be run his way.
What happens in a situation like this is that, hundreds of people just leave. This is not something they want to be a part of.
It was like, this is not what we're showing. This is what I put my life on the line for. This is not it. This is not it.
For Bobby Seale, who formed the Black Panther Party with Newton just 7 years prior, it is the sad end to a movement that shook the nation.
I left the party in July 1974, and I had stumbled on Huey trying to take over the drug trade in Oakland, California. I says, I got to get out of here. Huey and them is out of their mind. And then I started thinking, I have to kill him. It went through my mind, I have to kill this fool. He's destroying the party. And then I got angrier and angrier. And so I left.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruption.
Bobby Seale leaves the Black Panther Party in 1974, and by the early 80s, the group is officially disbanded. But the images and ideas let loose by the Black Panthers live on today.
The revolution won't be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
Yeah, the thing is, right, now in regard to the whole issue of, it's clear that Mr. Newton, like so many other people, started indeed having a mental breakdown. Now, whether or not he was trying to take over the Oakland drug trade, that remains to be seen, considering the fact that later on in life, as he did have a downward spiral, like so many other people within that party. Look, when you see these you see your life work go up, you don't know who to trust, it does take a toll on you. But I've heard other voices saying that Huey was caught up in the usage of cocaine, unfortunately. He did go left for a hot minute, but in the process of time, in later interviews in the 1980s, going to the 90s, he was recovering and on his way. And when the United States government found out about his connection to up-and-coming rapper and superstar Tupac Amaru Shakur, and how Mr. Shakur, as his career started taking off, was funneling money to Huey Newton and the redevelopment of the Black Panther Party by way of his mother as well. Huey Newton, out of here. So you know when someone's doing the right thing once they get assassinated, once they get hit. But again, notice now, all the illegal maneuvers. And I've seen this go on within the Hebrew Israelite structure. Yeah, I'm going to say it. I've seen these very things, which explains a lot. But the fact of the matter is that you had H. Rap Brown. Now we're going to go into his life, his legacy in the party, and also the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. But the seventh answer want to give you an overall introduction to the Black Panther Party and its structure. So now let's go into it. H. Rap Brown, cool and profound as the conversation continues.
No longer talk about I. See, that whole individual thing has to be thrown out. This is, one thing that college students have to understand, because most of the cats who come down talking about I got my stuff together is cats who are coming out of college.
Okay,
you have to understand that you have to be speaking for the struggle.
Now you've heard me say this time and time again, and you've heard the seventh answer use it as well. But I'm gonna use myself. The whole issue, how we came over here as a collective. This is not an individual thing that we're going through. This speech is what H. Rap Brown was telling the Black Panther Party and all its members at a seminar that, listen, we got to get off this individualism and stay on the collectivism. Now we are one, we have to operate as one, no one's better than the other, and we're not here to compete. So this speech, listen carefully, it's intense. Go ahead, seventh answer, run it.
You cannot be talking for yourself, because I know what's going to happen if you get caught out there by yourself. You're going to be looking for everybody else at that point. The whole thing of, like collectivism, the whole thing that's not pushed in this country. If you understand, again, the politics of the country, then you understand why it is not pushed. You understand why America finds it profitable, in her sense, to push the whole thing of individualism. It's a whole rule of divide and conquer. When as America, the patriots of America do not exist as individuals. In reality, white people in this country do not exist as individuals. See, the police have a line talking about, well, we are a minority too. That's not true, because they reflect the attitude of the majority of the people in this country. And white people, the white people who are racist, the white people, who are capitalists and who oppress people, they reflect the attitude of the majority in this country. So they do not exist as individuals. So black people have to understand that whole thing of individualism is a luxury that we can ill afford. We cannot afford to be individuals in this country. We do not exist as individuals in this country. We must begin to hammer out an ideology of revolutionary nationalism that says that every group, black people should be nationalists, Puerto Ricans should be nationalists. Like white people should be humane, nothing else. Because we cannot talk about white nationalism in this country at this point because of the way it's defined and what it means. We have to talk about white people being humane, nothing else. The American Indian can talk about nationalism. And when all of these groups, began to launch a type of revolutionary nationalism in their country, in their communities, when they become nationalists, then we can talk about waging a people's struggle. We cannot talk about waging a people's struggle in this country before then. Before each individual group becomes nationalistic in the sense that they are organized and that they are together for their own purpose. And that purpose, in the end result will be ending of repression and oppression of the masses of people. Then and only then can you talk about grouping and launching a people's struggle in this country. Now, the whole thing of politics in this country is that politics plays upon the individual. And one of the mistakes of the movement has been that we have been a victim of that whole thing of the individual. See, the man always points out an individual and he tells you that's your leader. He says that's your leader. Well, you have to examine what he's doing. When he pushes a guy out there and says that that's your leader, he also understands that he can pull that cat in. He can destroy that cat when he gets ready. See, we must begin to relate to concepts, not individuals. See, don't ask me, like, what's wrong with Carmichael and the Panthers? Understand what they both are saying. If you understand the ideology that they're pushing, that's sufficient. Then you take a side on that ideology. Don't take a side on the personalities. So you got to understand the difference. You have to understand the difference between concepts and personalities. See, the man, he found out it's very easy to destroy an individual or to discredit an individual, but it's much more difficult to discredit a concept or an idea. So what he does is that he pushes individuals out. He tells you this is your leader. Black people will decide when they need leaders, and they will decide who their leaders are. At this point, our job becomes, those people who understand the nature of the struggle, our job becomes to organize black people, to organize for revolutionary struggle, not to be projected as leaders. And at this point, the only force in the black community that will be able to wield the revolutionary ideology will be a political party, a party that pushes that ideology, some type of apparatus that speaks to black people. Because if you don't have an apparatus, if you don't develop alternatives for people, then the people are shuttled right back into the system. And you say, well, we ain't making no progress. See, the role of the vanguard in any revolutionary...
So what H. Rap Brown was recognizing, he was recognizing the infiltration. He was recognizing what was going on. So his speeches were telling everyone, don't forget the fact that, listen, we came in here as a collective. Don't forget that this is not about a one man or one woman. This is about a group, a concept, a construct. That's why he was saying, get off this individualism and this whole issue of letting someone tell you, oh, he's your leader. That person's your leader. Because why? It goes, once the government can get you centralized on one person, one figure, wherein now you can't question, you can only follow this person and what they say. It's no longer an organization, it's a cult. A cult. This is what he was talking about and trying to prevent. Unfortunately, the message got lost in translation, but still, H. Rap Brown, profound, man, cool to the core. Go ahead, Seventh Answer.
Struggle is to lead. When it ceases to lead, it ceases to be the vanguard. The vanguard is no more than the guardians of the struggle. And people have to understand, people with certain skills, that's your role. Students, that's your role. You have to occupy the vanguard position in the struggle because you have certain skills, because you can do certain things. You cannot divorce yourself from that community. You cannot set your college apart from the community that you came from. See, down south, what happens down south in black universities is that when they build a black university, there's usually a physical boundary. It's a railroad track or a lake or something that separates that black university from black community. And so what happens is automatically black students begin to assume that they're different from the people on the other side of the tracks. So all of a sudden they get scared to go out there where they got to buy their wine, because that's all they go across for. They get scared to go out there because they think it's an entirely different person on the other side of the track. Again, the man is divided. He's made black people think that they're different. That's again, that's a luxury we can't afford. You have to understand in terms of how the man moves, how oppression comes down. He stratifies the community. You examine what happened in terms of the Jews in Germany. He didn't just vamp on the Jews. He got them segment by segment, in other words. The rich Jews say, well, he ain't gonna mess with us. He just getting them poor Jews, them troublemakers. The same thing happens here in the black community. During the rebellion, black people who were doctors and who were professionals said, well, they ain't gonna mess with us. They just getting the lawbreakers. But what really happened was that one of them doctors got caught out there in Newark, and the cop whooped his head till it broke like Oakley. Then he started talking about we and us.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on
that's the nature of repression. Repression tends to force people together. And it becomes a question as to whether the vanguard can afford to wait till repression forces them together. Given that, a lot of people, the masses of people even say, will be forced together as a result of repression. The question then becomes, can the vanguard afford to wait until repression forces them together? See, if we are correct in our assumption that the man is coming down every day against black people, then where does that leave us? If he has a timetable, if he operates off that timetable, is it the role of the vanguard to sit back and let that timetable expire, or is it the role of the vanguard to offset the timetable? This is a question that students, again, people who should be occupying vanguard roles in the struggle because of the skills that they have, nothing else. Because of the skills. You have certain skills that can be utilized. Students should be organizing welfare mothers. Students should be organizing young schools. You should be educating kids who are being trained every day. You should be educating. So you have to see your role because you have certain skills. You see, a revolutionary is not only a person who shoots a gun. See, I think a lot of times we've overemphasized the role of the gun in revolutionary struggle.
Okay,
a revolutionary is not only the person who shoots a gun.
Now I want to point this out. You're listening to a 19, 20-year-old man speaking. Now you understand, in the last 50 or more years, now you understand why the dumbing down of our people was implemented. Now you understand. See, as he said, the government, they study and watch us. You see how he's talking about vanguarding, staying vigilant. Don't ever give up. Don't relax your guard. This is how the young black man of 18 and 19 years old were talking. But over time, here come the faggotizing. Whoa. Let me be careful. Let me rephrase that. Over time, here come the homogenization. The entire men can be women, women can be men. Okay, all of a sudden, the disruption of the black male and female relationship, putting black women in better jobs and positions, using her as a weapon, with Gloria FBI hired Steinem. Now you understand why the emasculation of black men and also the devaluation of black women was put into play. Now you understand the drug culture, pornography, and everything that's filthy and degenerate started paying, and everything that was about any productivity was, devalued. When they heard, but I just want to clarify. When you see Muhammad Ali at 23, 24 years old, they were men. They dressed as men, talked as men. See, the white establishment, they never, ever want to see this kind of movement ever again, if they could help it. See, our yesterday shapes our today. And this is why we can't forget this history. And we won't let it be forgotten. Go ahead, Seventh Answer. Run the video.
Revolutionary functions in the struggle on whatever level he happens to be. See, there's something that's going on out at the IBM plant. Somebody's out there sabotaging the machines. They don't know who it is. Could be Leroy 00 Soul Buckwheat Johnson Jr. They don't know what's going on, but they know that their machines are breaking down. He's committing a revolutionary act against that company. So wherever you exist, you can exist in a revolutionary fashion if you are committed to revolutionary struggle. See, it's no longer adequate for us to say that we're going to have revolution by any means necessary. You have to begin to define the means that are necessary. You can't say struggle by any means necessary, because again, you're allowing cats to do their own thing. You allow a cat to say, well, you know, I'm fighting the revolution in this way, Jack. I'm going to get some of the mad money. And that's how I'm fighting the revolution. You must lay down guidelines for revolutionary struggle. And to do that, you must have a revolutionary ideology. People have to understand that in terms of ideology, ideology is shaped as a result of struggle. You don't just sit up one night and come up with the correct ideology. That ideology happens as a result of struggle, of being out there working with people. So the mistakes that a lot of black people make in terms of going to the black community is that you go in there with a program. Go in with an ideology and work around the programs that exist. Don't go in there with a program. People got a program. They got to have a program to live every day down there. But go in there with an ideology that can tell that cat, I can make, you know, this a little easier on you. We have a revolutionary ideology that tells, you know, in terms of the cat who hustles, that, you know, if you do such and such a thing, you can, you know, in terms of alleviating the pressure and the oppression on other brothers, this can be done. Don't go in there and tell the brother, look here, man, put down your hustling, you know, give up your numbers. What do you have to offer him? Infuse in his mind, how can he use the money that he gets? You know, we need a cut of the money from the numbers to run a revolutionary organization. Then look at here, brother, this is what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about, you know, giving me a cut of the money that you're getting from the numbers. That's your revolutionary duty. That's your revolutionary obligation and your revolutionary duty. Don't go there and tell the cat, look at here, man, you got to give up that stuff. Because I got something better. It might be better. It might, but you're telling that cat to give up something that, you know, the way he knows how to live. That's his skill. For a program that he has never tried, for a program that you don't know if it's going to work. See, because most of our programs is theory at this point. The application of theory is the proof of theory. When we begin to apply that theory, when we can tell a cat that we got something that'll work, that's when, you know, cats will begin to come on. Until then, we have to use people on the level where they exist. We can't tell a cat, look at here, man. I mean, I don't, you know, don't go to the wall unless we got an alternative for it. What alternative do you have for a cat who you don't let go to the wall? You either make him aware that he's going to spend some time in jail and you prepare him for that. But to tell him, you know, just, hey, man, don't go to the wall. The cat's going to look at you and say, well, what you got better? What, you know, what you got to offer me, man? I might be able to go to the wall and become a typist. What do you have better to offer me? See, programs exist in the black community. What we have to do is to forge a revolutionary ideology that makes those programs work for the struggle, make the programs work for the struggle. Now, in terms of the whole role of college students at this point, black college students in particular, you have, you know, a vast, you know, there's a colony in Bedford-Stuyvesant, there's a colony in Harlem, you're surrounded by them. We need people, you know, to do work, to organize black people. We need people to go in and to work with black people, to infuse black people with that type of revolutionary ideology. Because if they don't have it, then every time Nixon comes up and screams that he got a new program, black capitalism, which is, you know, a myth, then they're going to try it out. They're going to go for the ghost. You go for the ghost. You know, you laugh, but you go for the ghost. See, the whole thing, you know, like in terms of where we are at now, where a lot of us are at now, is that we have infused as an ideology, or for an ideology, the whole concept of militant blackism. In other words, it has become sufficient for a lot of us to be black and proud. But understand that there is no contradiction between singing America is my home and saying that I'm black and I'm proud. There is no contradiction. So a lot of us are just at the point where we are black and proud. That's not sufficient. We must go beyond our dashikis, our beards, and our beads. You have to go beyond that. See, because you have to understand that what happens in terms of a country of this nature is that you cannot talk about creating something until this thing has been destroyed. An old principle, the first principle of physical science, says that two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. So you cannot build where something exists. You cannot talk about building where something exists. And a lot of us are just at the point where, like we in our dashiki bags. But understand, you have to go beyond that. What you gonna do if the man come to your house and you ain't got nothing but a dashiki? You gonna beat him off with a dashiki? You gonna butt him with your natural? So that says to be black does not ensure survival. Just because I'm black does not mean that I will survive what this man has to put down. So we have to be, aware of that whole thing. That blackism is not an ideology. And people can be black and be individuals. A whole lot of dudes who were screaming that they were Negroes are now black and still doing the same thing. So we have to go beyond that whole concept of just, the natural and the dashiki. Because, if you look at in terms of, you can really gauge the tenor of the country by the way they program you over the idiot box. In terms of the TV thing. Okay, you used to have I Spy, which was an extension of the Long Ranger. It was a logical extension for the Long Ranger. I mean, my man was Tonto, nothing else. Tonto. But then you look today, what you have on TV today, and on the radio, you got the dude in the blue dashiki, the Newport dude in the blue dashiki. On the radio, commercials. I mean, this reflects an air of militancy. This is a whole new thing. White folks will co-opt dog shit, man, if it's to their advantage. If that's to their advantage, they will co-opt it. The militant black, they found it necessary to co-opt that to make it harmless. So they will show you the militant black. They show you a dude on TV. This dude, look here, he can't do wrong right. This cat can't do wrong right. But he's a militant. He's a militant. He's standing there, he got on all his uniform. He got on his uniform and everything. He's talking bad. He's whooping. But in the end, whose side does he come over to? He said, well, yeah, this is my country, baby. And, and I was going the wrong direction. I mean, the man programmed. He programmed.
Yeah.
He's always wheeling and dealing, man. And you have to understand the way he trains people.
Let me come in.
He trains people. He trains you to act a certain way. He will train you to be good black figures. Because he has conceded blackness. The first political victory.
Now, I hope that what he just said there didn't go over your head, but if it did, we're gonna help you. See, what he was saying was this here. It's not enough to just be out here fist in the air, proud to be black, pumping your fists, wearing your dashikis or whatever else you have going on. What are you doing after that? Where are you nation building after that? See, the same science. It's sure you got brothers out here, trees and garments out in the streets, camp banging on Esau, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But then after that, where was the nation building? Where was the development of programs and monies to put into our neighborhood and our people? Where? See, he understood the science of professional talkers, but not professional walkers and doers. See, the playbook that white America's used has never had to change because, unfortunately, a lot of our elders and even our young people today didn't learn the lesson and continue to repeat the same mistakes. Just a thought as the conversation continues. Go ahead, Seventh Dance, let's play it out. Yeah, you can play it out, Seventh Dance, when you're ready. Yeah, so we'll wait the video to continue. Like I said, for those of you who are just now tuning in, we are now giving honor to the late great legendary leader and brother in faith, the one and only H. Rap Brown, who was the founder of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and also a member of the Black Panther Party in later years, who also was bipartisan and working in other factions, who he gave himself over to the faith of Islam in later years, and took on the name, I think, Jamil Abdullah. Jamil Amin Abdullah. All right. And he was wrongfully convicted and placed in prison for 20 years behind trumped up charges of shooting an Atlanta trooper. Okay. Because as he was making, noise in that time frame and catching a lot of brothers and sisters' ears, he was shut down. He became a spiritual and political prisoner. So you're listening to the speech of H. Rap Brown on the issue of never forget that in being a fighter for justice and freedom, it's a collective agenda, not an individual agenda. It's about feeding all the people and not feeding one person's ego. And seventh answer, if you're ready, you can run, and we're going to play out the rest of this video and move on.
Black people won in this country was the fact that they said that we are black. They established the fact that, we will not be recognized as Negroes, we are black. The man said, wow, okay. He said, we'll concede that. We concede blackness to you. But we will not concede revolutionary struggle. We will not concede revolutionary nationalism. We'll concede blackness because then he still can sell that program about, the whole thing of integrating. The whole thing of blacks integrating with whites. He just changed the word. He quit saying Negroes integrate with whites. Now he says blacks integrate with whites. So you have to understand that he's just using black people. He's not using black people to speak the language of black people. He's just putting people in to mimic his language. Just new faces. It's the same old game. Just new faces. That's all, a new color. You have to understand that the whole thing of incorporating and developing and forging an ideology is very important when you begin to deal with the masses of people, especially the vanguard, people who are the vanguard, people who will begin to articulate and people who will begin to supposedly educate the masses of people. You have to understand that what's necessary is an ideology that goes beyond that whole thing of, just physical state of blackness. Because what we are talking about is surviving in this country. That's the whole thing. We have to survive in this country. See, this country oppresses people around the world. It's not just here. It's not just in Vietnam. It's in Latin America. It's in Africa. It's all around the world. So if people but we as individuals, we as black people hold the key to liberation for people around the world. See, if people in Vietnam were to become free tomorrow, that would not affect the freedom of people in North Korea. That would not affect the freedom of people in Puerto Rico. See, it's just like an octopus. You cut off his tentacles. He still got tentacles in other places. But if black people see themselves as being a colony in the eye of the monster, we got his brain. You destroy his brain, and you freed Vietnam, you freed Africa, you freed Rhodesia, you freed Latin America. Because this man is the chief oppressor of mankind. You have to understand that in terms of his wealth is made through the oppression of people around the world. So when we talk about, replacing the man, when we talk about an ideology that's limited in scope, that does not talk about destroying the system, a system that demands exploitation, then we are talking about replacing the man. Whenever we talk about, well, I don't want to destroy, this country, then you're talking about replacing. See, I'm as much against a black cat oppressing people around the world as I am a white cat oppressing people around the world. Wouldn't make me any difference. I would struggle just as hard against a black cat who oppressed black people, because it would be necessary to oppress some people in this country if you took the seats. If all the white folks in the world would have died and black folks moved in on the seats and assumed those positions, and business went on as usual, then Vietnam would continue. Rhodesia would still be imprisoned and oppressed. And it would be because of the economic pursuits of this country. The only way that this country can stay wealthy is that it oppresses people. Capitalism demands exploitation in some form of other people. So when we're talking about creating an ideology, we have to talk about ideology that's free from that type of economic oppression and physical oppression, because the physical oppression comes as a result of that economic pursuit.
Okay,
we
Seventh.
have to begin to examine.
I think the point you can end it there. And for anyone who's interested,
the man says, well,
you can always look up this speech. It's entitled H. Rap Brown, Individualism and Collectivism, if you're interested. And as the conversation continues, we thank you for allowing us to come into your mind, soul, and cipher. All right. And as you can see, we here are honoring all of our elders who are now being called home to glory. We had the late, great Viola Fletcher, one of the three last surviving members of families, member of the Tulsa, Oklahoma race riot. And we see the passing of H. Rap Brown, also known as Jamal Ahmed Abdullah. Okay, if I'm saying it correctly. However, what we're going to show you is that we're never going to forget our past, because our past shapes our present. Now, what I want to do, if possible, is run a few shorts and different clips of Mr. Brown at certain intervals of his life, and then we're going to come right back and continue talking about his life, his legacy, and his efforts in what was called the Black Power movement and struggle. As the conversation continues, run the videos if possible, Seventh Answer. Or while you're queuing them up, let me see who's talking. Tyrone, okay. Baby Hebrew, you sure you're a Hebrew? Are you just a wicked Israelite? Baby, you a wicked Israelite. Okay. Okay. You want me to take notes? It's judgment time. Salaya Ben Yah, this look like comic slop or cosmic slop. And Buddy was proud to infiltrate. Yeah, if you're talking about Darthar Perry, he was Salaya Ben Yah. And Tyrone, I don't know. Your indictments of myself are misplaced. And again, the key tonight, we're not even talking about me. We're talking about the life and legacy of H. Rap Brown. All right. And, one of our elders who fought valiantly to the point where his freedom was jeopardized and taken from him. And this is what we have to continue to remember. Those who fought, and even if they didn't have the biblical understanding or the nationalistic understanding of us being the children of Israel, still, the Lord compelled them. And you saw they were strong advocates of justice, but also what made J. Edgar Hoover so angry, and some of the staunch white supremacists of the time, what really made them angry was the fact that this woke up a lot of young white folks at that time to the reality of how this country ran. See, this is why the old vanguard of the white supremacists don't want to give the reins of this country over to a great many young white folks, because see, there are a lot of young white folks who are ashamed, they're embarrassed. They see that indeed they've inherited lies, and some of them, if it were left up to them, they would give us back. They'll be glad to give us back what was taken from us and give us back our rightful place as the Lord required. And this is why this old vanguard still sticks around. Here they are, 80, 90 years old. It's all in the Senate, all broke down, decrepit, because they're afraid to hand off to so many young white folks who see the ruse and the lies. And that's why when they tune here to the Lion's Den, now you understand why our views get blocked, our algorithm gets tampered with. Here it is. It could be 1,000 people or more watching. You'll see 34 views, 22 views. You know, but we understand. We get it. The market for intelligent black talk is a threat to those of you out there who need to believe that we're the mindless dummies that you've convinced yourself that we are. So as we continue on, we're going to give you different shorts and clips of H. Rap Brown at different intervals of his life, from one of the founders of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which I'll break that down, to being a Black Panther and other arenas. Run the video, Seventh Dancer.
Yeah, I'm gonna run like 2 or 3 because it's hard to go back and forth to these little shorts.
Understood. Understood. Whatever you can do, hon, that's fine by me.
Tell them to shoot at Lady Bird. I say if they give me a gun and tell me to shoot my enemy, I might shoot you.
Brown, are you under arrest?
I am supposedly free. However, it's a shaky freedom because I'm standing on America's territory right here. That's the only thing that's keeping the racist honky cops out there from coming up here, because I'm supposed to be on federal grounds, whatever that means.
What happens next? What are you going to do when you leave federal ground?
Well, I'm going to stay here on the steps. I'm going to build a house right here. I don't want 40. Yeah, I don't want 40 acres and a mule. I just want some lumber. I'm gonna build a house.
Did the U.S. attorney tell you why he released you from the charges that originally were arraigned for?
He finally dug how ridiculous they were. He knew he didn't have nothing on me in the beginning. He was just holding me until the honkies got here from Maryland.
Why
he made that clear.
Detective from Alexandria. Who attempted to serve a warrant on you upstairs?
As I walked out of the cell, 2 big animal-like, blue-eyed, pale devils come up and grab me on the arm and tell me I'm under arrest. However, I know more of their law than they do. I knew I was in the federal building. I don't know the honky. You see one, you see them all.
Get off me, man! You're trying to walk on me!
Wait a minute. Let me go, bro. Let me go, bro. This is not a problem. Okay, I'm under. Let me go. Hold on. Let the man go.
Yes, that was when he, along with a few other Panthers in the Oakland chapter, were brought under arrest for, supposed seditious behavior, and also Ronald Reagan bearing a grudge when they all marched down there to the Senate chambers with those guns. Okay? Yeah. This is what they do. And they didn't stop pursuing Mr. Brown until, like I said, the late 1990s into the 2000s, and trumped up charges that he shot an Atlanta sheriff's deputy coming to serve a warrant. for his arrest. Okay, see, they never stop. See, one thing about this government, they're extremely vindictive. They don't forget and they don't forgive. And also, any black masculinity of any kind, it is their sworn duty to eradicate and eliminate it immediately, whether it be real or even images. And I'm gonna come back and break that down. Go ahead, Seventh Answer. Run the video.
It's beneficial to be nonviolent in certain situations, then it has been policy to be nonviolent. But in terms of self-defense, we've always had a strong position that individuals are given a God-given right to defend themselves. And what's more, they're protected within the framework of the law to protect themselves. When white people participate in the movement, they should participate on a level that they civilize the other element of that white community. Now, because, it's not a thing of where they're helping black people, they're helping themselves. Because freedom cannot be given. It's not a, welfare commodity. Freedom is something that has to be gotten and taken by the people who are oppressed. I don't think there is any organizational differences and, philosophical concepts. I think we're going to proceed along the lines of organization that we began. And we're going to have programmatic projection in our work areas. It's beneficial to be nonviolent in certain situations.
Right. And that is the one and only H. Rap Brown, defining and breaking down the difference between being nonviolent and defending yourself. And he, like so many others, were in total disagreement with Martin Luther King at the time, who was pushed in the forefront by the federal government as the model to follow. They were saying, no, we're not going to go out here and not defend ourselves against those who were being violent against us. And as Malcolm X observed, when you have a two-legged dog sicking four-legged dogs on your women and your children in front of you, using high-pressure water hoses to break the bones of your women and children in front of you, you have a duty to defend yourself by any and all means necessary. And that's why later on, when Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, and other Black Panther members would join and align themselves with the Southern Christian Leadership Council, with Martin Luther King Jr., that is when absolutely a target was put on him. He had to go, because as time went on, Mr. King wasn't stopping the new members and young members from defending themselves. He even advocated it. When with H. Rap Brown, with Stokely Carmichael, and other members of the Black Panther Party conferring with them, they were the ones who put the idea in Mr. King's mind, soul, and conviction to pursue what will become known as the Poor People's Campaign, and he would seek to sue the United States government for reparations to the tune of $10 billion at that time, which I believe $10 billion in today's economy would be about close to about 80 billion, 80 or more billion, 100 billion. I'm not very good at math. I gotta work on. I've been working on that all my life. But my point is, that's why Martin Luther King got assassinated. When young men like H. Rap Brown joined that organization as well. Go ahead, run the video, Seventh Answer.
H. Rap Brown, later known as Jamil Al-Amin, was a key figure in the civil rights and Black Power movements of the 1960s. Born in 1943 in Louisiana, he became known for his militant stance against racial injustice. As a leader in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, and later as a member of the Black Panther Party. His powerful rhetoric and advocacy for Black empowerment made him a prominent, though controversial, figure. In the 1970s, he converted to Islam and became a respected imam. In 2000, he was convicted for the murder of a sheriff's deputy, a charge he denies, sparking ongoing debate about his case. Al-Amin remains a symbol of resistance in the struggle against systemic oppression. Follow and subscribe to Authentic African for more videos.
Yeah, and as you can see, I messed up his Muslim name, Jamil Al-Amin. My bad. I kept saying Abdullah. But still, you get the picture. This man's resume was impeccable. Despite our differences of who we were as a people, as he was converted to Islam, still, all in all, as you heard and you're seeing and hearing for yourself, the man was magnificent. Now, if you don't know, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was one of the chapters of and one of the many voices out there in the Black Power struggle. What these young people at the time, in conjunction and collusion with other young voices, they were about peaceful protest, even looking to the debate any and all opposes. But what they weren't going to do was allow anyone to hurt them when they were out there conducting their peaceful protest. Yes, it was called the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, meaning they weren't going to use any aggressive ways and means to acquire their objectives. It didn't mean they were going to allow someone to hurt them. As you heard earlier on, Mr. Brown or Mr. Al-Amin explain the difference between being nonviolent and self-defense. So again, once he aligned himself not only with the Black Panther Party, because this man was very bipartisan and very diverse, once he aligned himself with Martin Luther King and caught Mr. King's ear, along with Stokely Carmichael, all right, that's when the target on Mr. King's back, chest, whatever, became absolutely paramount to get rid of him. See, this is the history that we refuse to let go. This is the history that we are not going to allow to be buried. There were a great many of our forefathers and mothers who put their lives on the line, their freedom on the line. As the Bible did say and predict and prophesy, that the devil would throw and cast many of you into prison. And indeed, this did happen to a lot of our forefathers and mothers at the time who fought valiantly and never gave up. Mr. H. Rap Brown, later known as Jamil Al-Amin, he never gave up. He never stopped fighting. But unfortunately, brilliant minds like this were deflected, and they were staunched by so many traitors of that time. And with the assassinations that transpired, and again, so many who sold out, This explains why, in that time, the black boule and a black middle class arose overnight. Because a great many brothers and sisters in these movements, when they got stepped to and offers were made, they took them. See, this is what Keenan Ivan Wayans, Damon Wayans, and some writing credits to Marlon Wayans were conveying in the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. We had the late Clarence Washington III playing the revolutionary. And in the movie, Keenan Ivory Wayans asked him, what happened to the brothers down to be black? What happened to everybody who was for freedom for black folks and for everyone else? And you heard Clarence Washington III's character say, what else? The government came with jobs. They bought us off. We took the offer. And I've seen that as well. In my years as a practicing Israelite, yeah, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, the Epicureans, the Hellenists, they're still around, just new names, but the same old selling out. And that's why we here on The Conversation Continue. Let it be known, we can't be bought, we won't be sold. And this is why we go so hard in the paint. Bringing you this information now. Just, you can pick any random we'll give one last video as we're now coming up on the 3-hour mark. And we're giving you more than enough food and ammunition on this particular conversation. Just give us one last video of Mr. Brown. We're going to just start doing the closing outs. 7th answer. All right. We hope that you can.
Yeah, they like 20 minutes long, the other one. So, yeah,
Ain't no short one? Well, how about this?
5 minutes that belongs to that news channel that will strike us, but no.
Okay, how about this 7th answer? Take one to 20 minutes and let's just give them 10 minutes. We'll give them just 10 minutes and we'll cut it short, okay? How about that?
We should have let the other one play out. That's too much.
Oh, you mean that hot speech? Well, all right then. How about this? You know what? We've given enough. Sorry, y'all. We don't deprive you, but we have to maintain and keep a tight schedule here. And yeah, in my neck of the woods, it's now midnight. I'm dedicated, but I'm still human. And your boy's starting to drift off in the la la land. So how about this? As we now embark upon landing, you have been given a thorough education on the one and only H. Rap Brown, also known as Jamal Alamin. And we salute the elder to a job well done, and may his spirit and soul now, as they say, rest in peace until that great day of resurrection. We here on the and again, we hope that you've enjoyed. Oh wait, what's this? Oh yeah, we hope that you've enjoyed this presentation tonight on The Conversation Continues. And so we say rest in peace to the spirits of Huey P. Newton, H. Rap Brown, and so many other members of the Black Panther Party, Little Bobby Hutton, and others. Seventh Answer, do you have any closing or parting shots?
Please hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, YouTube channel, and follow us for more.
And so, in closing, we want you to understand we give honor to the Lord and Christ from whom all positive thoughts flow. And we also encourage you, don't just take our word for any and everything here. We want you to get up off your duffs and check things out for yourself. Because at the start and end of every day, it's going to be up to you to study to show yourself approved. It's going to be up to you to keep the energy going. Let's say if the Seventh Answer and myself, we should be called home to glory. We hope that we are inspiring you out here in listening land, Lions Den land. We hope that we're influencing you to understand your call to action and your call to duty. So, as we sign off, we'll bring it home. We'll bring it home to a close and let this beautiful original music take us to that 3-hour mark. As we sign off, we say always in the spirit, once known as Don Cornelius, as we continue to keep the Soul Train memory alive. Shalom, peace, ahab, love, and Napash, protect and love your soul. And we are out of here. Rest in peace, H. Rap Brown. Rest in peace, brother.
You said love yourself. Or God.
Oh, love and protect your soul.
Yes, protect your soul.
Indeed. And thank you, Seventh Answer, for conducting the order early on, because we definitely were veering off course.
Yeah, and that was going to be a minute before you realize that we have to get back and get on topic.
Well, that's why you're at the helm of the control tower. And with all that being said, take us out with some original music and let the good people know what the title of this song is.
Superman ain't got no melanin.
All right.
Now, Superman ain't got no melanin. We really solar powered. Yeah. These Gentiles wanna see they twins downfall like them two towers. Summertime, me and my whole team be clean, skin gleam while they lean under a tree soaked in sunscreen. Look at us flyer than a pelican. Elegant in our melanin. Slap on some Vaseline and we might call scenes turn eyes. We burn bronze, our skin's fine. Me and all my entourage come in different shades of brown like wow. Look at them, below your bubble they fry and die. We go out in the summertime and feel like we can run and fly. Don't believe the lies by wise that you've been told. Your complexion's precious and your melanins worth more than gold. What? Even at 5 dimes and 8 gram, no ma'am. You can't get this 10 per square inch. We worth more than millions, and that ain't included our personality. Yasha Allah been known to shine through the brightest calamities. Hey, limelighters, dark daughters with God, nah, they shine brighter. Ad lib, we motivators, no low degraders, we inspire. If you're feeling down and out and your spirit's tired, just turn this up, step into the sun and get higher. Smile right up.